Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you. Another Tuesday night at 9. What's going on, fellas?
Yo,
What?
that intro, I got me inspired, man. Y'all,
Yeah.
Inspired to do what?
y'all-
You want to do better? Do
Yo,
better in life?
I'm inspired already, man. It just amped me up, man.
Why
It
you
was
never seen the intro before?
not that one. I
No.
ain't see that one.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one
I ain't
either.
see that one. That just was official.
Really, y'all ain't seen that? It's been on their episodes, dog. Y'all serious?
Yeah, I ain't see it.
Guess not, man. So
No.
yeah, man.
They always late.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, because they play in the beginning. They always be late.
That's what it is. Oh, gotcha.
Look, hey, bus, meet cast members.
Bus driver. God damn, son.
Well, what's going on? I bring in the wild card, Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Hey.
It's nice to have you.
Hello,
Kind
good
of
evening.
don't y'all clam up today. You know what
I
I'm
know,
saying?
right? They were so afraid last time. I think if you had told them in advance, they may not have shown up.
Respectful. We were respectful last time.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was. We were respectful last time.
Okay.
Look, everybody wants smoke till they see fire.
But here's the thing, right? So the conversation tonight is about reparations, right? And I think it's important to bring on some intelligent people from both from the collective, because I think this could be a whole conversation for all of us. You know what I'm saying? And it's good to see. The goal here for today is to define what a good solution for us would be. You know what I'm saying? And I want everybody's perspective, and I think Dr. Dickerson might have something to add to that. So there's a few questions, and I don't necessarily know how to put it in line yet, right? Because I'm so torn on where how to actually attack it. The first thing I kind of want to kind of throw out is the fact that 80% of the country does not want us to have reparations, and I just want to see how y'all feel about that, and what's it matter to you that 80% of the country is so negative about it? There's 7% of the country that don't care, right? Being that we're 13% of the population, 7% of the country don't care what we, what I mean, if we get it or not. The other 80%, it's a strong no. You know what I mean? So I want to save you kind of for last, Mo. But Leifer, go ahead and jump us off because you always go last.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel weird about it because I look at the history of the United States and I look at the history of reparations. I mean, there has been the United States has given reparations, cities have given reparations, states have given reparations, and I have numerous examples of those. But it's like, well, why is it all of a sudden now that if they give us reparations, that it'll bankrupt the country, but they can give billions and billions and billions of dollars to a war that don't really have anything directly to do with us? I mean, it has, some implications on territory and positioning ourselves in different spaces in the world. But it doesn't have a direct effect on us, but we can send billions and billions and billions of dollars overseas to assist quote unquote allies. But when it comes to righting the wrong in this country to the people who actually built the country, all we get is, well, we let you stay here. So it's like, I kind of I take issue with that because it's to me it's ridiculous because they can write and create and print money for everything else except when it comes to right and the wrong. And until we do that, I mean, there's always going to be some issues.
Do you have information on the demographics of the 80% who don't want us to have reparations? I mean, like, are some of these people black too?
Some of them are, unfortunately.
Okay. So I'm imagining that those who don't want reparations are, if they're black people, the ones who already make a lot of money. Because when you think about giving something away, if you make money, you're always wondering about where it's going to come from. If you're not the person who gets the large tax refunds, if you owe money at the end of the year, and other people get stimulus checks and you don't get a check and you're watching your money take care of everybody but you might be a little weary of reparations.
What's up, Smooth? How you feeling tonight?
What's up, brother, man? How y'all doing, man?
Man, good to ask you in, man. First question: how do you feel about 80% of America not wanting black Americans to get reparations? What's your feelings on that?
That's towards me.
Yeah, I'll let you think about it though. Go ahead, since you just joined. Go ahead, let me jump in.
So I think that is a part of a form of systematic control, man. I think like Leaf said, there's a lot of different ethnicities that have been given reparations. You think about the Holocaust and different things that people were given when they came over here. You know, it was a form of reparations. I think with us, man, I think it's about keeping that control. You know what I mean? Because if we found, like, when we were building and we were establishing, you know what I'm saying, communities, and we were thriving, it was intentionally destroyed. We're like the only ones that intentionally always destroy. And it's because I think it's the greatness that's within us. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a lot of fear, and a lot of people are scared of us uniting and us having. So they don't want to give you like a leg up. You know what I mean? I mean, we fought for every little thing that we got. And I think that's just a part of maintaining that control, because again, like, we built this country, but we are a big revenue generator for this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, we drive a lot of the revenue, a lot of the work, pretty much all of the workforce, or like portions of the workforce. So I think that's just a part of control. They're feeling like if we get the reparations, as part of losing some of that systematic control.
I'll spin next. So I don't understand why they wouldn't want us to have it. You know, a lot of other cultures have gotten it, as we all said. For me, I feel like if we had our opportunity with the reparations, then I think we could do a lot with it. But people just don't want to see that. I think they also lack the vision or lack the understanding of what we actually went through and why we even deserve it in the first place. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, or pull you know, what is it, that pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of a situation. You know what I mean? And I think that's their natural go to, and that's why I think the 80% would be like, no, they need to get it on their own. You know.
Yeah, but their ancestors didn't even pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They was like giving land for free over in Europe when they was over here trying to build these colonies and stealing territories and space. They were calling people over and they were saying, "Hey, yo, here, you can have this land," and they was giving it to them for free. So like that, nobody pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. They came over here, they got a handout, and now it's time for somebody else. And now they want to say, "Oh, well, you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps," or "Why would you want a handout?" or "Why are we paying you for something that you weren't alive for?" or "Why are we paying you for something that we weren't alive for?" But it's like, well, you're still benefiting from it. So it's our turn.
Spin the block, Mo.
All right. So a couple things, like, and I think everybody made good points, but I mean, the first thing that came to mind when I heard everybody talking about it was, I mean, we're still talking about Black Lives Matter. Like, we're getting killed in the street why would these same people, and no one cares, and then somebody's going to say, oh, well, we need to have some type of justice for these people and restore their dignity and restore everything that was taken from them. Like, so the fact that 80% say that, like, that doesn't surprise me, but that doesn't move me off the spot that we still deserve it. So with that being said, I mean, that's fine that they don't care or they're against it, but that doesn't change the fact that there still needs to be a sense of restorative justice. And I was actually just watching something recently about Forsyth County. That's like down by Macon or whatever. Like, that's one of the richest areas or whatever in Georgia, which I didn't know. I used to drive past there all the time.
That's Forsyth City down by Macon. Forsyth County is right above Fulton County.
Okay, so not sure which one, if it's the county or the city, but they said essentially it was a black community that they just obliterated. And it's like, they just obliterated and they were like, oh, well, they had all kind of land. They just pushed them out and said, you got to go. And I was like, is it eminent domain? So this was before that was even a thing. So like, there's certain things around land, and I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of that later, but so it doesn't move me to 80% think that, but it doesn't surprise me either. So, and I think we'll get into some of the other stuff as to like, steps and, processes after we get into it. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Clearly, we're in a lot of people's mind, we're second-class citizens.
So next question, man. How do we feel about other groups getting reparations?
First, let's talk about the groups that got them. Like, what groups got the reparations? I mean, we could go down the line. With the Japanese Americans during World War II. After World War II, they got reparations. We talk about that. We could say the Native Americans got reparations, but they don't have full control over the money and the income. But they still got some kind of restorative justice for land that they signed away. I mean, whether they got tricked or not, they signed it away. So, you know what I mean? So that
they
is
even
what
offer
it
us
is.
the rum.
Didn't offer a dang thing. So you know what I mean? If you want to go to talk about some states, I mean, there were I think people who were affected, or the descendants of the people who were affected by Rosewood, they got reparations. I think there were some people who were victims of police brutality in Chicago. They got reparations. I mean, on and on and on. There's reparations, like I said, on the city level, state level, federal level, nationwide, and somehow we're still talking about, the people who built the country, and they're still having a fight over us getting reparations. So I don't have no problem with people getting restorative justice, for how they were wronged. I got a problem with the fact that we haven't gotten restorative justice for how we were wronged.
So just to kind of piggyback off that, the restorative justice that they had planned for us was to put us in boats and ship us back to Africa. That was the plan.
Go ahead. What you got?
Yeah. So I think another part of that. So how I feel, another part of that is that America is quick to always point out somebody else's wrongs, right? When somebody else is wrong, we're quick to act. We're quick to point out when there's an injustice that's taken, but we don't hold that same mirror to ourselves. And I think a part of that plays out when you talk about reparations, because we got to admit that your great grandfather was a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? And that, we're guilty of the same things that we tried to eliminate Saddam Hussein for. You know what I'm saying? Those same acts. You know what I mean? They were terrorists. You know what I'm saying? The same thing that we hunt. We don't want to look at that, man. I think slavery really is talked about, but it's something that America wants to forget. Like, they want to act like it never happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are people that wasn't affected by it. Like, it didn't have an impact, you know what I'm saying, on the world. And I think that's another part of why we're so quick to run to everybody else's aid. And we don't really admit that, hey, listen, like, we really wronged these people. And we really, you know what I'm saying, impacted, you know what I'm saying, an entire race. You know what I mean? It's really just, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean, eating, you know what I'm saying, eating what you cook.
know, cut the check. I'll forget tomorrow. Shit.
What's up, Smooth? What you got, bro?
Nah, I want to go back to the 80% of the country not wanting us to have reparations. I can't speak for the 80% of the country, but I have crossed paths with people that I personally know that don't want us to have that. And basically, in my opinion, they don't want us to have it because then they won't have nothing to complain about. You know what I'm saying? I think too many black people, they want to always focus on the problem and not be solution based. And I think they think they're doing some justice by keep complaining about the problem and not trying to solve anything. So once they get reparations for you can take care of yourself and you ain't got to complain about the government assistance or anything like that. I mean, you know, now you really gonna be on your own to take care of your own business.
What's up, Doc?
It's important to remember that when people are in positions of privilege, equity feels like oppression. Think about when the whole student loan repayment thing happened. Like some of us didn't have student loans, so we're watching other people get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans paid off, and you're thinking, "Well, I paid off my $40,000 by myself." Now, I didn't say that, but I heard quite a few people saying that, not thinking about the fact that maybe they weren't first generation college students, maybe they had athletic scholarships. All they're thinking about is what they didn't get. That's on a small scale. You got these white people who've been getting stuff for hundreds of years, and they feel like if the United States or any state or anybody makes things equitable, they are now oppressed. They're afraid of being the minority because, I mean, at this point, they kind of are getting a lot closer to being the minority. So instead, and this is one of the reasons I think that other groups have gotten reparations, they want the other minority groups to remain against us. As long as they don't work with us, we'll stay at the bottom. They want us to stay that they just hate black people forever.
Who didn't spin on this one? Everybody go. All right. So next question. Do we need to prove that we can handle reparations as a group?
How do you prove it?
Yes and no. Because if you can manage and budget a little bit of money, that proves you can manage and budget a lot of money. And I think that we haven't proven that, right? And not only that, we don't have the systems in place to circulate our own money. So really, if we were to just, and it was just like a cash payment, and I'm using cash, you know, that's philosophical at this point because there's really no such thing. But let's say it was a digital payment or whatever. But with that being said, I mean, how long would that fortune or that money stay within our community? Like we don't have the things that to insulate it for it to even circulate. So all we would do is we would just be giving it right back away. So I think that's a lot of where I have issues. Like I don't think we're ready. I still think that we deserve it and we should get it, but I don't think we're ready. If we were to get it, if Uncle Joe was to say, okay, today we gonna cut a check, it might get ugly. It might turn into a Chappelle scene. So I mean, I think we need to really start putting things in place to get ready for it because we're not ready at this point. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't, you know, start building that infrastructure now and showing what that looks like. But I think we really should, kind of like Smooth said, we need to kind of start thinking about what it's going to look like, what the end result's going to be instead of just complaining about it.
So is that not what the government tried to do when they gave all those grants to small minority-owned businesses? I mean, you're saying putting it back into the community, but we don't have Black-owned cars. There's a Black-owned cell phone company I heard about that wasn't that great. Sometimes restaurants open and they aren't run well. And I mean, we want to put it back in our community, but our community just does not have a lot of the things that all the Asian communities, Hispanic communities, white communities have. So if we get the money and if we're going to spend it, even if it's just putting it in the bank, it has to go back to somebody else that's not us.
And that's why I think it needs to be more than just a one prong of just a cash payment, because we don't have the infrastructure and we don't have the pillars in place to insulate it and to manage our own money. We'll just be handing it back over anyway. And then And then there's no excuses. Like I remember I used to say this about Obama. Like after you got a black president, they're like, you on your own now. Look, he did it. And then there's no more excuses. So you actually need to have the kind of the things in place to be able to have the infrastructure to actually do something with that funds once you have it. And then we need to unify. I mean, each person buying a Cadillac doesn't help the collective. So we need to really figure out what we want to do with the money, whether it be, okay, well, let's go buy land and build infrastructure on that and have a parallel society beside the US, or just be able to be independent. That's to be determined. But I think that's the biggest thing that we need to kind of figure out is, okay, if you do get the money, what are you going to do with it?
But Mo, how would you convince someone who's never had money, all of a sudden they got a couple $100,000 to believe in your plan? If they never had no money, they're not going to invest in no land. They definitely not going to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? Not just saying you personally, but somebody to tell them what to do with their money. So that group of people, that money going back into the economy. It's going to stimulate the economy. Prices and stuff going to go up. You know what I'm saying? Those Cadillacs going to get bought. You know what I'm saying? Gold going through the roof. They getting all that.
So I think that's why you need kind of those four different those different pillars, because it can't just be like so. I remember I saw somewhere it was like a 15 trillion, and that figure would have gave everybody 200,000. That's not really going to change your life. And back to what Dr. Dickerson was talking about. So I remember I had this conversation about student loans. I paid mine off, but I wasn't a hater and being like, oh well, you know, y'all getting a handout or whatever. But I did caution folks. I said, hey, what if you're actually crippling the next generation that doesn't have the funds and the wherewithal to send their kids to college, to where now they can't get a loan? So how are they going to pull themselves up with education if they can't afford it and there's nothing else available to them? And people was like, oh, they clutched their pearls on me. But I was like, that's just a real discussion that people need to think about. Like when you take the cheese, there could be a trap there. So, and that's the thing that I think we really need to kind of think about. After you take this cash payment, you know, there might not be this golden parachute to catch you or this net. So you're on your own. So are you going to be truly self-sustainable after you take that cheese?
Well, and there's a lot more that goes into that just in being able to pay for your kids to go to school. If you were able to go to school, then chances are you educate your children a little bit better in the home. You take away that whole summertime gap, and then your kids get scholarships and they don't have student loans. And so I'm going to keep calling it privilege. The privilege keeps going. But some people, once they get to that point, they think that they have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps without considering all the things that were given to them.
Agreed.
Good, Lee. I see you want to chime in.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you know, I don't think it's realistic to think that everybody is going to fall into some plan or to, you know, be about the whole agenda and trying to better. I mean, even during the days where you had Black Wall Street, there were still boo-boo the fools back then. You know what I mean? But there was a collective of people who said, this, we want to do better. We want to build for ourselves. And, you know, we want to build something for, you know, our kids. And they did that. So I feel like it would be no different now. You're still going to have some fools who's going get a money right back to the system and stimulate the economy, which is, I think, one of the major reasons why they should give us reparations. Because, hey, if we're worrying about all of this inflation and stuff, hey, how do you get rid of inflation? You stimulate the economy. So go ahead and give us that money and run that check so we can stimulate the economy. But I just feel like, you know what I mean? Some people, I think on one side, there are people who are against it because they're afraid of that. They saw, like, some people were alive to see some of that stuff, and some people told, you know, their kids about, you know, the greatness of Black Wall Street and some of those black towns, like that we were talking, like I said, Rosewood and some of those other towns, and they saw what we were able to build on our own, and I think that scares a lot of people. And then secondarily, I think there's some people who don't want, mainly, and I don't necessarily, I don't know, but 80% is a lot, so I'm guessing there's a bunch of well-off people in there. But I'm thinking that 80% is a lot of people who don't have any money, who don't want to see. Let me clarify this: a lot of white people with no money, who don't want to see black people get some money, and now they have more, you know, more than they have, and you know, and I think that was even a problem during back in those days where, you know, you had some of the poor whites who was with the poor blacks, and then now the poor blacks got a leg up and they like, hold up, you know, and that's where you got the, you know, those towns getting burned down and stuff. But, you know, I just feel like, you know, some people are not going to be able to handle it. And the ones who can handle it are already built an infrastructure for that, or at least mentally building that up and trying to get their own family and their own ducks in order.
So, so a little bit of pushback on that. Like, I fear that, you know, we're getting into kind of a whole talented TIF discussion, because the folks that don't, you know, have nots won't have, right? But at the same time, I mean, I think there needs to be enough of the collective that actually benefits from it. Like, I mean, the people that got the sense and already had money, the rich become richer. Like, I don't want it to become that. Like the same discussion I was having with, you know, student loans. It's the same thing. Like, yeah, I'm okay. Like, I paid mine. I'm not worried about it, but I'm not like, oh, they shouldn't get it. But I'm just kind of, I want us to be mindful of what we do with those resources, because it may not come back around again. So with that being said, I mean, I think we really need to be inclusive. Like, I get it. There's going to be some people that just you can't help, but we need to be able to meet people where they are to improve their lives, even to the detriment of what they think. I think that that's going to really be a big part of it. Like, you know, in our hoods and stuff like that, they might be like, oh, what's it matter if we own our homes versus rented? Now I can't call the landlord to fix stuff. I got to do it myself. I'd rather not do that. But with that being said, ownership is what's going to actually pull them out of that. So sometimes you have to push people in the water to make them drink it versus just letting them starve. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be some, but I don't want to have a talented TIF discussion to where, you know, we end up separating from the people who don't have the knowledge. So a little bit of it, we almost going to have to, you know, there has to almost be like when they say when you hit the lottery, yeah, has some F off money. Like, there has to be some F off money in order to meet people where they are.
I think, a part of that should be one of the requirements, right, to getting the money should be that we had to take a financial literacy class. I think what's happening strategically is that we're removed from those type of teachings. Even growing up, like, white people are teaching their kids about credit, and teaching their kids about stocks.
We can't hear you. You like,
hear me?
no, your mic changed. I don't know what you pushed, but your mic changed.
You hear me?
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I think they're being taught financial literacy as a kid, and we're learning it way late. And I think that will correct a lot of people that's blowing the money. Like, so just for the example that Mo gave, people then don't understand like the value of home ownership. They just see everything that they have to do, but they don't understand the back on the back half, like how much value that you get. And that's wealth. You know what I'm saying? You're creating wealth by owning a home. I think it's like it's strategically done. Like, we don't teach each other or our children about financial literacy, and the Chinese, the Asians, even the Hispanics are doing it. You know what I'm saying? They're teaching their kids how to work. Like the guy who just did my drywall, for instance, I asked him like, "Yo, why did you start?" He was like, "Oh, my uncle and my dad had me patching walls, and then they had me doing this, and now he got his own company." You know what I mean? We're not doing that. So I think that should be a part of it. That'll stop. I'll say there's going to be some people that's going to blow it anyway. There's not going to be no sections left. It's just going to be everybody's going to be doing their thing. But I think 80%, we can save 80% of the people with just financial literacy.
Just by providing it, like, would they actually have to pass the class? Because, I mean, you know, there's a lot of bias in testing, and there are a lot of people who are going to fight the whole literacy class when they can't pass.
Say, oh, you're trying to be white, yeah.
Right. Or, you know, I sat up here and watched this thing all this time, and you're still not going to give me my money, even though maybe I wasn't really paying attention. And I just think you're going to end up cutting out about 50% of people getting their money by requiring a financial literacy class. That's what's going to happen.
And is that a terrible thing?
Is that what?
Is that terrible? For 50% of the
cut out
people,
50%.
who was going to do something stupid with
it
it
can be
anyway, right?
seen as discriminating, maybe they have cognitive deficits and the financial literacy class ain't gonna stick with them anyway. Maybe they have other moral things. I don't know. All I know is that there are going to be a whole lot of people who would not be able to pass that class, would not be able to get the money, and it would be another fight. I think if the money's going to be given, it just has to be given. You can't put roadblocks in the way of people getting it.
So
you're just going to have to let them spend their
in
money in a stupid way. I'm gonna figure out what the biggest thing is that they're buying, and I'm gonna be the one who sells it to them, so I can make their money too.
Look, here we go.
4 times.
So
as
we
rich.
go.
Hey,
So look, so
I agree with you, man.
for people to get financial assistance, they got to go through a lot of roadblocks, right? Like there's like criteria. They got to go to classes. They got to go to trainings. There's different things they got to do to get financial assistance, correct? But they get it done.
Depends which financial assistance. You get food stamps by filling out the application and turning in some paperwork, whether or not it's true.
But it's still a process that they got to go through. They still go through a process to do it, and they find a reason to get it done. Just like childcare, they got to go through a process to get childcare as well.
Mm-hmm.
They still find a way to do it. So I think if there's something tied to it, I think people will make it happen more than you would think. We do it now at a lower level. We're not talking about $200,000. We're talking about $1,000 in food stamps.
Okay. So then if there's a financial literacy class, I think my initial question was, do you think that there should be some sort of quiz at the end to confirm that they learned something, or you just want them to pretend that they cared about the class?
I would want them to be, I wouldn't quiz it. No, I would like to give them the information. So here goes, we're going to give you this money. And here, this is how money works. This is finance. This is like this. Give them a basic structure on misnomers that people think about how to spend money, and then be done with it from there. But give them the opportunity, because there's a lot of people that don't know about stocks, that don't understand how to invest. Right? There's a lot of people that know. We're not taught a lot of that. Right? We're just taught to
most of them don't care. They have access to the information that's on YouTube. They just don't care.
I think
that's what I was gonna say. The biggest part is like, once you lose hope, what's it matter? And I think a lot of these people lost hope, and they were so used to like just living off of the bare minimum and whatever they were handed down that they didn't care. So that's why I'm saying, just the fact that that's why I don't feel it can just be a cash payment. It needs to be kind of a rising tide raises all boats. Like different people need different things. So in conjunction with cash, there might be something else that needs to be created in order to help these people, whether it be financial literacy, maybe to be healthier, maybe to be mentally healthier. Like there's a whole bunch of things that other people need. So that's what I'm saying. We need to meet people where they are to get them to the standard. That's what I'm saying.
We've done shows on generational, right, and generational issues. If there's a part in your generation that's broken, that doesn't have it, and they never fed it, then how do you know what questions to ask? Right? You don't even know what you're missing. And you said it too, to your point. Health is passed on, like, you know what I mean, the way you eat, like, you know, all that's generational, like, and how you came up. So how do I know, if I was never told, how do I know what I'm supposed to ask if this is all I've ever seen?
I mean, you have a point, but that's not financial.
I
would like that to be taught.
I want to get to the meat and potatoes real quick, though. While we still have a lot of energy, everybody has a lot of energy. I want to get to the big question, right? While we're still flowing, what does reparations look like? Let's go ahead and attack that right now. Go ahead, Smooth. I want you to spin it first. You haven't spoken in a while.
Anything that's gonna make my life better, right? Money, but I agree with Mo. It shouldn't just be all just money, but the majority of it need to be some money. And I take care of everything else, because I just don't want. Okay, land could be reparations, but just don't give me some land, because they slick now. We in Georgia, they'll give me some land in Idaho. You know what I'm saying? But now you give me some land, but I don't have the means to go see my land. You know what I'm saying? So do I really have some land?
Or you'll still have to pay taxes on it. Will you be able to pay taxes?
But give me the money. Give me the money. Let me buy my own land. I pay my own taxes. But also, I agree with it. let's get some kind of financial literacy going on too, so I can keep this money. I need all that, man.
Go ahead, Lee. What you got, bro?
So yeah, I think a combination of all of that, right? You know what I mean? I had I had posted, like if they made it like mandatory, like say whatever that number was, say, because I think they're talking in California 1.2 million per person. So say, okay, we'll do 1.2 million per person in the United States. You take half of that, and half of that has to go into a trust, name for the future, whatever. You could create your own, get a lawyer, whatever, create your own stipulations on it, how you want to do it. But that half of that money, that's for the next generation. You can't touch it, can't see it. You're building wealth for the future. Then you got the other half of that money. You have to take financial literacy classes. Now, whether that comes with a test or whatever it is, you have to demonstrate some knowledge of at least using a bank account, savings account, things like that, CDs, whatever. And then you have to have some kind of, some kind of, I guess, some kind of plan of life where because everybody's going to come into it and say, oh, I know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get to fly this. I'm going to get to fly that. No, you got to prove your next steps. So you come in and you show your next steps. So I think it has to be a combination of stuff, but also not any of those things disqualify you from getting the money, but this is the steps towards getting the money. You know what I mean? And I think you put all of that stuff in place, that might help the people who actually want to be helped, and those who don't want to be helped is going to blow the money anyway. Mo, you look like you are stirring over there. Get it out.
Yeah, I didn't want to bust. So so a couple things. And I think you're spot on, but so man, I got some notes here, man. A couple of things that I think we've been starved of for generations, we start there. Like access to funds in order to have a business, because just being able to have the money, okay, well, we don't own many banks. So they'll just scam us out of it, which it's happened before. We had the Freedmen's Bank and they just ran off with the money. You can watch the movie The Banker, same premise. So you go and you say, oh, well, now we have all this money in the bank and they run off with it. We don't have no way of holding them accountable. Once they run off with it, then what? So that's why, like, you kind of need to have a lot of different things. But as far as the things that I said, I think that, the way we should go about it is I have interest-free loans, free higher education for us. And that's not just college, because college isn't for everybody. So I don't want to just say, oh, 4-year tuition, because some people are like, oh, well, that doesn't do anything for me because I'm not a school person. So then they're like, oh, so I don't get reparations. So whether that's a trade, apprenticeship, whatever, I think we should have equal funding for lower education, like whether it be the K through 12. We should, regardless of where you live in the United States of America, it would be nice if the kids got the same amount of funding per kid everywhere. That would be helpful. So you're not at a deficit versus, someone that lives in a different location. I think that, a certain level of land is needed, because you have to have a certain level of ownership to be a true say, right? Remember, like, there was a time when you couldn't vote if you weren't a landowner. So obviously that's why it's important. So having land is important, but what we do with it, that's going to be part of the issue. Me, myself, being from the city, like, you give me 3 acres of land, what the hell am I going to do with it? Especially if it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be looking for the first place I can sell it. So I think that's why it's important. But those are the things that I think is going to be important, whether it be ownership, education, funding, and then we have to create some industries. That's the biggest thing, because even if you get a one-time payment, you're going to need a way to kind of keep regenerating money, because otherwise, if you just have money and then nothing else to regenerate it, you're just going to be sitting there like, oh, okay, well, I'm trying to get interest off my money. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we kind of need to hit it, but those are kind of the 5 pillars that I think we need to go about in order to, I think they're a good starting point.
What's up, Doc? What you got? What does reparations look like for you?
So I think it would definitely have to be individualized. Like when I think about when I work with clients, we create what's called a treatment plan, and that's based on their history and what they say their goals are, and all the other stuff we see from years ago that they might not even tell us about that's in their health records. So maybe you have $100,000 in loans, not just student loans, but you got a bunch of cars that you had, and maybe you have a house, but you also have $20,000 in savings. So maybe part of yours could be to pay off loans, and part of yours could be said. I mean, of course, everybody's going to want a lump sum payment. Maybe when you do make money, you have a manic episode and you spend it all up. So maybe some of yours needs to go towards psychiatric services. But I think it'd be great if you could kind of shop and click little buttons for, okay,
That's like filling their pockets.
Need a little loan payment, need a little, I would like a TV, and I do need a vehicle, and just individualize it and put caps on how much of your allotment you can spend on each thing. I have this whole system in my head now, and if reparations become a thing, I'm going to go ahead and market it so then people can give me their money again. I'll get rich off of this.
No,
Lord, that's that black slave owner.
No.
I haven't spoken much this episode because I'm letting y'all cook. I do want to get my thoughts on what I think reparations do look like.
Yo, you don't forget about me though.
I'm just getting this is probably going to be the last thing I say for the rest of the episode, and I'm gonna just let y'all spin it, right? So, I mean, for me, I think land with like a water source and food sources, I think that should be a part of reparations. I do believe in the individualized thing that Dr. AJ kind of talked about, not in the same manner, but I definitely think it should also go into building the infrastructure that we would need to sustain. You know what I mean? So I think it will be important to give educators bonuses for teaching that minority or majority black institutions or schools, elementary or whatever it be. I think there should be like some type of bonus for that. So our best educators can then reinvest. Work these jobs and make a living. You know what I mean? I also think like as far as education wise, even for like secondary education, we should automatically get free secondary education. You know what I'm saying? It should definitely be a part of it. But then the individualized part, right? Like if education is not our thing, and we're not trying to become the next best doctor or whatever it might be, like maybe we're farmers, and that do come with special grants, and that's the individualized part of it for me is giving us the resources we need to not to build our infrastructure to sustain, because there's no African American Chinatown, like a Chinatown for us.
No low
right?
Africa, right?
There's no
low Africa.
I wouldn't necessarily. I think we're out of the Africa category. You know what I mean? For me, like I don't even think we even belong with that title. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know what necessarily to call us or what to call it, but there's no area for us unless it's run down. But I think whatever would help us build and sustain an infrastructure that we could then function on, whether if that'll be banks, that'll be the school systems, that'll be how we manage what's coming up or what's governing us and and that kind of deal, right? Because I see other cultures sustaining themselves inside of this whole thing called America, right? And it's like everybody has a piece of their own infrastructure that they could then go out and it's like little countries inside one big country. You know what I mean? That they could export goods, you know what I mean, from here and there and all these different things. And I think we need to kind of develop that own kind of system in whatever ways that and whatever things we would need to do that. I think that'd be important. But that's probably the last thing I'm gonna say. Go ahead, hit and Lee, and I think Smooth already went.
I just want to kind of follow what everybody said because you guys had really good points. I just think that the structure should be two ways I'm thinking. So it should be an annual payment, right? It should be structured over time. That allows like that one lump sum. Like there's a saying, right? It say money don't change you; it just make you a lot more who you were before you had it, right? So if you give somebody that much money, it's going to change. They're not going to think correctly. I think you should try to structure the payments out to kind of give people opportunity to plan to make those adjustments. And I think another option would be like a whole life term policy, right? You get that a huge policy, and that way you start create generational wealth, and you can also borrow from that policy. You know what I mean? So if you need it, you can borrow from it. You can, you know what I'm saying, you can manage it, but it also passes on to your loved ones. So, you know what I'm saying, you can continue the generational, you know what I mean, and keep it going when you go.
Lee?
I think I hit this point already, but you know what I mean. For me, it just looks like I said, it's a multifaceted approach for me. You know what I mean. I just feel like, you know, it's different things that different people need, but at the same time, you know, like I said, you should have there should be money put into a trust for later. You know what I mean? And that way there's already money set aside for the future. And then there needs to be a system set up for everybody to kind of learn and build that generational wealth and know what to do with the money that you have in hand. But I do love HIT's approach where you're not getting a lump sum. You're getting money over time. And I think that also gives people time to catch up. You know what I mean? To kind of figure stuff out, to go through some teaching, go through some trainings, learn some things, experience some life. You know what I mean? And then you can make better informed decisions as you're making more. And, you know, as the money comes in every year, you can get better every single year. So the first year, you might just trick it all off. You know what I mean? But as you know, you get the money the next year and the next year, you might learn and build off of that. So I definitely like that approach. HIT.
Everybody spun. So look, where does these funds come from?
I think that was my original question.
White people.
No, it's gonna come from everybody who's paying taxes. If the government,
It comes from the defense budget. It should come from the defense budget. I think that's the biggest budget we have. Mm-hmm. Come from the defense budget. You know what I mean? Because if it don't come from the defense budget, they're gonna need to get some more defense.
Yeah. So what is the money that they just gave out? Where did that come from?
My taxes. I paid taxes and other people got money. That's what happened.
Now is that you talk about the COVID relief fund?
I'm talking about the Ukraine money.
Oh, that comes from the defense budget. I think that comes from the defense budget.
So wherever they get that money from, and they giving that, I think they can go get that money from there too. Obviously, they got some room to spend.
Some of those countries they help have money. We're sending weapons and we're sending people, and they have oil and they have other stuff that they aren't giving to us. I'm all about taking money from the defense budget.
Mo, you got to spend?
Yeah. So I'm a little worried about just blanket taking money out of the defense budget, because what happens if we actually need it? You know, say North Korea attacks us, we're like, oh, well, we defunded the police, we defunded defense, and now we're just, now we're out here just getting taken advantage of. So I'm not necessarily saying to take it there, and I'm not saying it has to be a peanut butter spread, but I just think there needs to be an earmark commensurate to what we are to the population. So if we're saying we're 13%, we need to be assigned 13% of every earmarked budget. That's my solution. We should at least, I'm not saying we need to get over. I'm just saying we need to get our fair share. And if our fair share is 13% of the population, we should be assured that 13% of those funds come back to our community. And that's something that you can do from a government perspective, because it's going to be a hard sell to say, well, we'll just flush all these communities with money. And they're like, well, what about us? The other groups are going to say that. But if we're just getting our fair share, how do you argue that?
Easy. They'll argue that easy. But let's talk about that defense budget one more time. So how much, I'm just want to think, how much of the money you think we're sending to Ukraine comes back to stimulate our economy? Because I could almost guarantee
I would say it depends.
It's less than 0.1%. I'm just saying, because they're giving it. They're giving it. But if you gave that money in reparations, and on some level, at least 50% is coming back to stimulate the economy.
So there's a couple things.
And they're printing the money, and they're printing the money anyway. So they're printing the money and they're sending it out there. But and maybe they have a plan, and maybe it's not drawn out, and maybe
Yeah,
we
because
don't
there's
know
foreign
it's not
policy.
public. Yeah.
So keep in mind, there's foreign policy, and there's things you have to do to be, make sure you keep your standing within the world's view. So that's that part of it. But as far as stimulating the economy, I know for a fact, actually more than 0.01 of that comes back, because all the government contractors and the people who sell missiles and the people who sell all these weapons, for the most part, they're American. So it comes back.
Are those private contractors? Those are private contractors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it stimulates the economy. It may not go directly back to you and your community, but the economy, if that's what we're just talking about, well, the U.S. economy gets stimulated because all these Black Rocks, all these other companies that we know of, that
have their money
weapons
offshore to avoid taxes.
Well, no, I mean, these companies they're not sending any money offshore. They're just lining their pockets. So, but that stimulates the economy because there's a certain level of spending that comes back. So just off that premise, I mean, it doesn't make sense to just pull that money out of the defense. What I'm saying is just make sure that we get our fair share from every inch of that budget, not just the defense, because and we'll probably get into this, in Powernomics, it talks about that, like defense is important. And from the Powernomics standpoint, that's specifically for the Black community. It's saying, because we've done the education, we've done all these other things, but the part that we never got right was having our own police or our own military to be able to protect that wealth once we accumulated it. So if we did the same thing to the American society and we removed our defense, how are we going to protect the resources and the dominance that we actually already attained from the world? People going, like the Russias of the world, the folks that used to be about something, they coming back.
I think the argument, bro, is
But
though, like we're shelling out money to other countries, though.
I'm not talking about taking money away. I'm talking about increasing the budget to pay out the reparations through the defense budget. The defense budget is already large. I'm not talking about taking no money away from defense at all. I'm just talking about getting the reparations money from the defense budget.
Well, I think, well, Mo, it sounds like you speaking about Reaganomics. Like you're saying that the people way up here is going to get the money and eventually it's going to trickle down and stimulate the economy. But that's not a guarantee.
That's what's happening now. Yeah, that's not what I want. That's trickle down economics. I'm saying that's what's happening now. So no, that's not what I want. But what I'm saying is, if you're just talking about, just stimulating the economy, because we're part of that economy, but the problem with that is it's not enough of it isn't coming directly to us. So I don't want it to. Yeah, I don't want it to just stimulate the economy. I want it to be money that we are specifically going to have.
So you saying, like, you're talking about their butler, or their chauffeur, because you're talking about somebody that's not coming and spending that in our community, like, at all. Like, that money is eventually not going to get to us. We're not going to see that type of money.
I'm not following. So
tell me how you saying that.
He's not saying that. I think he's not saying that.
Yeah, I'm not following.
So check it out, right? He's saying the people who selling Ukraine all the guns and the bombs, or whatever, right? That money's going to eventually get to us. And I'm asking, how is that?
So what I'm saying is, like, to just take that money and just say, instead of doing that with it and just giving it to us, that's not the point, because now you're at a deficit with your defense. But when it comes to, we were talking about stimulating the economy. That wasn't necessarily my take on it, but it does stimulate the economy because it comes back, because these are American companies. Like, really, that's one of our biggest exports is weapons of defense, whether people realize it or not. Like, people say, like, oh, we don't produce anything. We produce a lot of weapons. And that's where, like, that money comes back in true U.S. fashion. We don't get to participate in that. So that's why we're so starved for resources. So that's not my point. My point is to, maybe if we get a little bit from everybody, that's how we can get it, not just say strictly from defense. That's my only take on it, because I still think that we need to get it. And I'm not talking about trickle down economics to support our community, but I'm just saying it should come from everywhere, not just the defense budget. I think that could be dangerous.
So they say to get reparations. Oh man, we got a late guest here. So they say to get reparations, man, it would be an act of war. Like, I was watching something, and I think Umar Johnson was like, the people who get reparations, it's an act of war to get everything they're asking for. What's your thoughts on it being an act of war, and Is that something you think we would have to do in order to make this all happen? What's up, Joe?
No.
Yo, what's
I
poppin',
don't
everyone?
ever have any thoughts about anything Umar Johnson says, but that could be a different
And
conversation.
he in the same field?
He is not. He does not have a doctorate in anything. He is definitely not in my field. He is a poser who just threw some letters around he sprinkles letters around his name like an arts and crafts project.
Jesus Christ. All right. Look, so no, I mean, I don't think it's an act of war or anything like that, man, because we just talked about what 6 groups that actually got reparations. They didn't pick up arms and like they just created enough disruption to the status quo to get it. Like, I don't think you have to pick up arms to, to get these things. I just think you have to have enough disruption in order to, kind of get that ball rolling. So I don't agree with Dr.
I think they got it in a manner. I think they got it in a manner where the government took something from them, in their country, and us being sold as property wasn't necessarily the same thing. So I think that's where it's all. That's why they were able to get it, and we're having.
The Japanese were here. Those Japanese that got reparations, they got it from their stuff being taken here because they didn't, people said, oh, well, maybe they're spies. So they threw them in concentration camps and took all their stuff. And they were like, yeah, this was wrong. So it wasn't that it was something that happened over in their country. And that goes back to another point. That's why we can't cut ourselves off from Africa, because if you don't have any international backing, now they can do whatever they want to do to you. So that's why I don't know if that
I don't think we should need an international backing in order to. I'm not saying. I don't think we should need an international backing for us to get what's due. Because the fact still remains that we went through what we went through, regardless if we have an international backing or not.
Look, you want to be right or you want to be rich?
Look.
Hey, yo, but I mean, you know what? Honestly, though, I am with Reese on that, though, man, because it's one of those things where it's a much bigger play, right? They got reparations because they had Japan and they want to keep that relationship tight. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have any other type of allies that have bigger resources or there's an actual partnership at play, then why would they just break you off if there's no bigger play there? And I think what really canceled us, and I missed so much, so y'all might have already crushed us already and already talked about it, but it's like as soon as they got most of us declassified from being like Native Americans, then that right there is going to take away the majority of the opportunities for us to really even have access to that capital. Or any type of back pay. So yeah, I think they already kind of moved.
They didn't classify themselves as Indians with the whole $5 Indian discussion. So they removed us and they inserted themselves. So that's double. That was a double entendre that they hit us with. So
yeah, that was a move.
So I hate to see you join on the last question, man. We went over a slew of things, man. But I'm gonna throw this one out there and everybody get a spin on it. What would you do with your reparations?
Start some business that people need so that they could pay me their reparations. Just they're gonna spend it anyway. I just want them to spend it with me.
Spoken like a true capitalist. Dr. H.J. Rockefeller.
Put it in the right pocket, right?
A black family close to something like the Rockefellers, you don't think so? And I would keep mine in the black community. I wouldn't do like some black people do and get rich and then, give their money to white communities and other races.
Anybody can go.
So look, ain't nobody saying nothing, so I'll spin. Look, man, so it depends. So what does it look like though? Are we talking about 200,000? Like, what are we talking about?
Whatever you want it to look like, what would you do with yours and whatever it looked like to you?
Okay, so it would be kind of that 5-pronged approach that I talked about, because 200,000 doesn't really do much, to be honest. That's not really going to make a ripple. But let's say I would want to create. I would want to be a conduit to make sure that everybody was able to maximize what it is that we got. Not that I'm rich, but 200,000, that doesn't really do much for me. But I would want to.
Where are you pulling that 200K from?
So there was a figure that said if they were going to give us 15 trillion earmarked for reparations. That was 200,000 per person. So that's where it came from.
Okay.
But with that being said, and that's a kind of an arbitrary number, because when I heard it, I kind of started doing the math, and I was like, what are you going to do with that? So like, we don't have much ownership in homes and stuff like that. So what if they just rose home prices so high that we still couldn't afford them? So that's why I was like, I don't know if that really works. But anyway, as far as what I would do, I would try to be a conduit to maximize what it is that everybody's receiving. So, and that looks different for different parts of the different sectors of the community. Whether it is, and we need to kind of have a certain level of industry. So I would want to partner with people that, one, have the ability and the know-how to actually create industry. And a couple of the things that, and look, we're going to bring back Dr. Umar, but it was actually pretty dope, something that he said. And he was saying the 4 pillars that you need in order for to have a self-sustaining community was a bank, a school, a hospital, and a grocery store. So I would try to funnel my money into creating those 4 things in enough of the communities around to where we can at least be self-sustainable.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I'm definitely with you on a couple of them, man. Having the bank, having access to actual like healthy food, I think those are the type of reparations that a lot of us like. 200K is life changing for some people, but for some it's like, all we're gonna do is blow that over, the next 5 to 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, but I mean, because it don't really go that far, but collectively it could be something though. And I think that with if it's put into an actual infrastructure where there's a business entity, because businesses run this country, like, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, businesses run the whole joint. I don't care who's in office, and castle's put in there by a business. And so, like, for the most part, we would have to have some type of collective business that we are part of. A bank makes the most sense to be collective a part of. Owning, access to large lands of like agriculture. That's why the whole Midwest, to me, is something that's just it's a move, bro. Like, there's great opportunities in the middle of the country because you can actually work your own agriculture out there. You actually own something where you can have your own infrastructure. So those 2 are the 2 pillars I would definitely say for sure. I would love to see some reparation goes towards those 2 places, because we got food deserts where people don't even know what healthy food is really talking about. Cats just pulling out of like paper bags and whatnot, and then just having access to the capital so you can actually build a business around it, because businesses run this country, man. So yeah, that'd be my 2.
It's kind of what I hit on earlier, just about the financial literacy, just building mind, body, and soul. I think I would do like a community center, like a teaching ground, like not in a center, but like somewhere where people can come and get educated, in finances, educated in food. You know what I'm saying? Like, just make it like almost like, a learning cathedral, man, something like that, where you're teaching so we can hold on to that money so we'll never get back in that same position again. You know what I'm saying? And we're helping people live long enough to enjoy the money. You know what I'm saying? The right way. You know what I mean? Like, I would totally just, you know what I mean? And that way, that way we can create like more wealth with investment groups that can come from that. You know what I mean? Because we all got money, right? But we don't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So we can sit down and I just make it a center, man, of Black excellence, where, you know what I mean, you can go, man, and just get healed all the way through. And you know what I mean? And we can continue this thing going. We don't want it to be, we get paid and then now next thing you know, 20 years later, we're right back to where we started. You know what I mean? This can be the beginning, you know what I'm saying, of us, you know what I mean, finally reaching where we're supposed to be.
Hit, you saved it. I was about to flame you. Okay. I was about to say, man, we got enough master classes. That ain't it. But, okay. No, I think you're right. I think, we kind of get the think tank going, and we kind of have, more grand ideas on industry and those types of things. But man, you saved it for me. Thank you.
Run it smooth.
All right. Mo said 200K ain't a lot of money. Mo, you got a wife and kids, right? So my 200K is 800K now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm moving out. I'm buying me some land. I'm gonna be surrounding myself with like-minded people, and I know some people ain't gonna want to, invest their money the right way. So yeah, on this land we got, We growing vegetables, man. We slaughtering animals, we harvesting animals, whatever, and we coming to the city every weekend with our own farmers market. You know what I'm saying? So the money, just like Dr. Dickinson said, yeah, I'm gonna get some of that money too. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna be long for my 800K gonna be sitting around. You know what I'm saying?
Business is business, huh, y'all? Business is business.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, they're gonna mess it up while they buying Cadillacs and gold. You know what I'm saying? If they got to eat, hey, I got you. I got some corn right here. You know what I'm saying? Some kale. I got you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing with mine, man.
You ain't about to get rich off no kale. That ain't it.
Huh?
You ain't getting rich off no kale.
Don't say that. I know a man.
You better put some gold on it.
I know a man that got rich off of air freshener scents.
Not off us. You better come up with the gold crusted tomahawk steak.
I mean, why do our product got to be only sold to us? You know what I'm saying? Asians don't.
Now we talking.
They don't just do their feet.
Talking.
You know what I'm saying?
Now we talking. Sell to everybody.
Period.
Joe can speak to that. Like, why would you limit your selling pool to that? Sell it to 13% that just now got money. Then it's a hustle. Like, have a sustainable business. Sell it to everybody. So I'm with you on that, dude.
Hey, yo, but you know what though, too, man? I was thinking about what like Hit said, bro. Like even though we got a gang of courses, I got courses. The cats, everybody got a course, right? But it's like it's one of those plays where having courses about the things that cats don't want to do. Like, man, there's so many opportunities with some like blue collar type of activities, bro. Where plumbers is making 6 figures, bro. Like you can actually come up, and nobody wants to do them. And cats is like avoiding this stuff, like it's the plague. And they run out trying to be like marketing like agencies. And it's
I gotta do some pushback, man. I think, think about it, man. We from Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Plumbers don't look like us. And it's not that we don't want to do it. We don't have the opportunity. Those are generally family businesses. You know what I'm saying? And we're not in the family to get in that industry.
But
you understand what I'm saying? So
this is what I'm saying, though. Exactly what it was saying. Like, if we had 200K, what would you do with it? Giving access to those type of skills for us to get in the family, so we can start running those type of businesses and really start running type of numbers. Because cats gonna need that work done. Like people was trying to avoid this AI thing. This AI thing is really going to crush a lot of these like knowledge jobs. Lots of these knowledge workers, them ain't gonna be nearly as hot as they've been over the past 15, 20 years. But somebody still gonna need to come in your crib. You know what I'm saying? Unclog something, cut down a tree. Them cats still gonna get paid to do that, bro.
I don't know, man. I seen AI build a house out of 3D sketch. You know what I'm saying?
That's a sketch, though. That's a sketch.
Yeah, like
no.
Like
they
you put
the
code in the machine and it built the whole.
It built the whole crib. Like what is it? The laser printing or whatever?
It's the 3D. It's the 3D printer, Joe.
Yeah. Did a whole crib out of it. Like we was like, what?
Hold up though. Do you want to live in that?
Right. That's what I was gonna say.
They said it was more sturdy than.
I'm coming up with a gasoline match company. I got a gasoline match company.
It's probably the safest thing in the world, but who actually wants to sign a straight 30-year note on that though? You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? Like cats with the custom.
If it's cheaper, I'm gonna do it.
You're in it.
They're gonna Photoshop your house out of there when you miss a payment.
What's up, Lee? Go ahead, spin it.
Nah, man. I'm looking like you know how I am with family, man. I'm looking at combining all the money, man, building a whole infrastructure, building like buying up land, building the whole town. You know what I mean? With businesses like restaurants. I said on plenty episodes, man. Like I got people in every industry in my family and just creating our own infrastructure. You know what I mean? Got people in the banking industry, chefs, doctors, nurses, all that, and just creating our own little town where we all got our own businesses where people got to come to us for services. And, like everybody say, bring that money in, all money in, no money out.
How are you going to drag people kicking and screaming to participate, though? I don't know if any of you have ever visited Tuskegee, but I was just there last week. 98% Black. There's a lot of land. Few people have restaurants, and there's no grocery store. There's a bank. Doesn't have an online banking.
There was one back in the day.
App. There was one back in the day. It might still be there, but there are a lot, and there has been a lot of land and houses that have been passed down, and grandkids won't take care of the houses, and they won't pay the taxes, and there are these grand houses that are now condemned. You can build all the courses and stuff you want, you can pour all the free money into it that you want. If people don't want to participate, it is just now another ghost town.
Here's a
Understood. That's
question.
why you create that trust, and the trust takes care of all of the taxes and all of that upkeep for those lulling family members of those people who don't want to participate. But if you build a quality product and you're the best at something, people will find you. You know, you won't have to be looking out. People will come to find
And that's
your
the
product.
key. If you have a business, you actually have to, provide some quality customer service and show up. And
So,
So-
can I push back on the doc? Because I know the doc keeps talking about the masses, but we're not particularly concerned about teaching the mass, because it only takes one or two to change everything. So it's about making making the right connections. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to. The entire group doesn't have to come and be a part of it and learn. But if you get one or two, what was that saying they said on Harlem Nights? He was like, it's about who you shot. Like, you don't have to shoot a lot of people, it's about who you shoot or something like that. But it's
I'm
about
gonna stick with Tuskegee. There have been some great people who grew up there, who went to college
put
there,
some shots in them in
and then they
Tuskegee.
went on about their business somewhere else, and did not bring that knowledge back or that money back to Tuskegee.
So we know. So now we know what happened. Now we can change it. Like, that was history, and we have the opportunity to go
That
forward.
was last year. That was yesterday.
We still can change it.
Okay. I love how positive you are, that you believe in your people.
How many generations should get after? Let's say we get reparations. How many generations after us should get these same reparation benefits?
It takes three. It takes 3 generations to change a people.
That was going to be my number as well.
Yeah, I can see
It takes
that.
3.
So for the next 3 generations, whatever our plan was, right?
Yep. You got to stand it up for those.
They would 3 generations strong would get whatever our. Can we end with overall, what do we need in this reparations package? I know it's all through here, but can we have a summary on what we need, and like if we was making a petition, right? Like, let's say we're going to make a petition, and this is the plan. What will be the prototype dad plan for how our reparations should look if we wanted to put it out there in the world and actually receive that?
I'm not a dad, but I would start by saying wipe away all debt.
I thought you was the mama and the daddy. It's like, no, I'm just playing.
I never said that's actually not what I said, if you remember. I said I would shoot somebody if I had to protect my family with the shotgun, but not be the dad. So
but as a community, we will be the prototype community plan for reparations if we can
paying
leave
off all debt. Some people don't have student loan debt or even car debt, but they usually have a house. Pay off the house. Whatever debt they have, start by paying that off, and then give them a minimum of $200,000. $200,000 is a lot if you don't have any other bills to worry about.
It goes some ways.
Does that debt subtract from that 200K?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Debt plus 200K.
I got you.
And that wouldn't cost the government a whole lot of money to wipe away some of that debt. It would cost some of those big corporations money, but not enough to shut them down.
I don't think credit card. I think like federal debt. I think there got to be a certain amount. There a certain kind of
just wipe
debt.
it away.
Not the credit card debt. Like that's just
wipe
poor
that away
decisioning.
first.
Like
Right,
we can't just wipe away credit card debt.
Why are we worried about
generational
if you get
trauma?
If you have income, debt doesn't matter. Like, let's find a way to actually generate income. Like, I think when we come at it from a poverty mindset, that's the first thing we talk about is debt and taxes. If you're generating enough money, that doesn't matter. Like, I think we need to go at it and play offense, like, instead of trying to play defense.
So leaving today, we're going to go make a petition.
I still want to get rid of those taxes, bro. I can't even lie. You know what I mean? Like, best way.
So we shouldn't pay taxes as a black community.
Yo, get them taxes.
So for 3 generations,
yeah,
that's only lesson for 3 generations though.
On like everything though, taxes off of everything's a nice little turnaround for you. You know what I mean? Like, how would that look if you weren't paying any type of sales tax, income tax, property tax? You got some more in your pocket. You got some more to work with.
I mean, not if you already broke. It ain't gonna get you a jump start.
Right, 7% of zero.
Yeah, right.
7%. I mean, but like, all right,
like that, sales tax.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and then 25%, income tax.
Most of them are looking towards the income tax, right? Like they don't even realize that that's your money.
Joe, you just cut off a lot of money for people. Actually, now they don't get no income tax back.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
See, they don't even know that's their money.
I mean, that ain't. I mean, all right, but that.
Yeah.
That ain't really moving it though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
that's my point. That's why I don't think tax really moves it. And that's why they feel they can take it from you, because they're like, if I just get a little bit from everybody, I can sustain. But anyway, I didn't want to derail it. So I know we were talking about, like, if we were going to say, a petition or whatever, like the stuff that I think is important is going to be education, economics, politics, and obviously we could get into some of this stuff more deeply. Justice, and we have to, for especially us, we have to dominate or at least be a factor in media. We don't do enough of that. Like we always want to be the show, but never in the show business. So as Black folks, I think we definitely need to do a better job of that. And there needs to be, I don't know how you would mandate that, be like, hey, you can't, hey, we at least need to be 50% owner of whatever content we create, whether it be, the ignorant stuff that we do, but nobody else should profit off it more than you.
But those are broad points, right? You said education. Like, what are we doing to education?
Okay, so I didn't know if we were able to get into that deep into the weeds, but so stuff that I kind of already mentioned. So the same amount of money for every child to be educated. So regardless of where you live. So where I live, the kids are educated good. Maybe inside the city, not so much. But every kid that looks like us gets the same level of education up to a certain line, right? So I think that's important because that gives them a leg up to be able to be self-sufficient. And then what else were we talking about? Like economics is to be able to actually have some money coming in, because just taxes by itself, oh, well, don't charge me taxes. But if you don't have any money coming in, that's not a thing. So we need money coming in, and I don't think it should be a handout either.
Flip on that
so
one.
we need to be able to participate in industry.
So if you think about a good economic play, right? We could do it how they do it for all the rest of the big boys. Like, hey, once you do want to start a business, we'll give you a certain amount of money available to you. So if you want to go to the SBA, you can automatically get pre-qualified for like $250,000, right? You know what I mean? So like just because you started, however you want to flip it, how you want to do with that money, and it's one of those type of debts that's deferrable, or at least I should say exempt even. So that way you just have it canceled off. So it's something that it's based like a handout. They do it all the time for all the actual big companies. Every time they actually bail them out, they'll never bail us out. That could be an easy play for us. Anybody that has a business.
So the third point that I had was like justice, and that's kind of just around like the way we're policed and the level of citizenship we get within our own communities. So I said it in the chat, man. We were talking about, everybody was talking about having insurance, and they were like, oh, well, if everybody had insurance, that would cut down on it. Maybe not. They would just find a way probably not to pay you. But with the same premise, you could every public officer has a surety bond. You kill somebody in the line of duty, we can go after that surety bond. So there's certain things that you can do the same thing without having to go out and expend that money and say, well, I have this policy, so they're gonna these insurance companies are gonna work on my behalf because they're having to pay out all this money. They'll just find a way to not have to pay you. So if you still want that, you can actually test it out by doing it that way. So Ben Crump, if you see this, do that if that's really what you're trying to figure out. And
I gotta tag him. Do I gotta tag him?
Like that's real justice. But and then we talked about media, and then lastly was the education. And education, when I say that, like obviously we talked about kind of the K through 12, but higher education, which I think is going to be needed, especially in the new economy that's coming up. With AI, like I see like kind of like Joe said, the whole knowledge-based stuff. Like a lot of times it's not even that people have knowledge, man. A lot of times they're just good pretenders. AI kills all that. Like you could be in a meeting now, somebody's like, oh, they make something up. You'd be like, you type in Google and they'd be like, that's not true. So so that kills a lot of that. So I think actually attaining real skills and real knowledge that's productive and useful for the group, the collective, is going to be huge. So whether that be, I think that's probably a good sweet spot, is to get into the trades. We could dominate that, because right now nobody really wants to do it. So I mean, free trade school, I know a lot of people won't want to do it, but so I'm in energy now, and I see this firsthand. No one ever said, like where I'm from in Pittsburgh, like they got Forbes Road. I don't ever remember anybody ever coming to the school and saying, "Did you know you could make $100,000 being a lineman for an electric company?" I know a bunch of people that would have been like, "Sign me up, I'll do it." Like I wasn't going to do nothing anyway. So I think a lot of it is the education and exposure. So education and meeting the people where they're at and giving them the education for whatever it is that they're looking to do, not just a blanket, 4-year college is free for everybody.
What's up, Lee? What you got?
Nah, I mean, I agree with Mo, and I'm gonna add on what Hitch's been saying all night is financial literacy. You know, some type of financial literacy, whatever that may be. You know, and like Mo has been saying, to meet people where they're at, because everybody has different levels of literacy when it comes to finances, and just build on to what they know. I think that should definitely be, definitely be in there for real. And I think also just like you know what I mean, like a plan, some kind of basic plan for, for what we're going to do over the next after the 3 years is over. Like, where do we go after the 3 years is over? Because we have, we got these 3 years to pay it up, but how do we
three generations?
Yeah, 3 generations, not 3 years, 3 generations to sew it up. But how do we solve it after that? Does it come with some therapy sessions with the doctor here, or what comes after that? If there's some residual effects.
Hit, where you at, bro?
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I think, man, all the points have been made, man. I think it's really valid points. It's great points. The trades, that's somewhere that I think that we got to get back to. I think we were there at one point and we lost that. We lost traction in that, chasing, what I'm saying, the corporate ladder. And I think it's going to revert back to that. I think that's great at this point. Like, that's going to be the industries, what I'm saying, the big money industries, because if you even look at the housing market now, the houses are getting older, what I'm saying, and it's not the building as much as they was before, and it's going to be somebody needed to fix them. So yeah, man, I think it's just like being strategic on industry, and what I'm saying, just with everything everybody hit on. I think everybody did a great job, selling the points.
Hey, Hit, man, let's be honest about it. I don't think that we willingly left the trades, man. I think we got pushed out with the whole creation of unions and stuff like that, man. We weren't allowed to participate.
Yeah, but I mean, still on a local level, before you get to the union, I think we had the businesses, and the generational, the second generation was more interested in doing something else. And just like I said about the Hispanic brother that was working in my house, he was taught as a child. I think, like you said, that generational, that gap that we had, that when people rather go to college than become tradesmen, they thought that was going to be, what I'm saying, to give them the upper hand. And I think that's where we lost it at. We didn't have that structure and that, and what I mean, everybody working together enough to sustain it. I think we give white people too much credit on some of the stuff that happens. I think a lot of it's self-inflicted, man. I think there's a lot of decisions we made that made what they did easier, that happened to us easier. But I think, like, a lot of that came from we didn't value that industry as much as we did, as we should have. We looked at it as like, that's for people who can't go to college. You know what I'm saying?
So we definitely played a part. But what I don't want you to do is, man, don't take them off the hook. I'm telling you, man, they're like, it was a wicked game out here. Don't take them off the hook and be like, they just don't care. That's what they do. Like, don't take them off the hook. I'm telling you, there were systems in place. That's why they call it systematic racism. Like, there's systems in place to make us, destroy ourselves. So don't take them off the hook.
Well, they didn't let the Hispanics in the same industry, and they came and took it over. How did they do that?
What do you mean they didn't let the Hispanics in the same
So
industry? I have not seen the Hispanics not get into any industry they've tried to get into.
Right, they're picking fruit.
So what I'm saying is, if they block, you saying they block black people from being in the unions?
Yeah, and
Why would
they
Mexicans?
already blame us enough. We can't start blaming us too for our
Okay,
issues.
wait a minute. I'm tripping. Maybe I'm lost. They took us out of the unions, but they let the Mexicans in the unions, the same unions.
They're not in it either. So they're doing it for
Powers
a
of numbers.
crackhead rate. They're doing it for a crackhead rate.
But they're building all the houses. They're you look up, like, they really run that industry.
No, they don't. They're just the hammer swingers.
Yeah,
they don't own
the business.
Yeah, they're just the hammer swingers.
They just hop in the back of the truck and
so
get paid
I'm selling
cash.
the house. So I'm selling the house right now.
I think that's the misconception. They want you to think that they're just the hammer swingers, but they're the owners too. They getting bread too, like bread. First they were swinging hammers, and once they figured out the business and came in and started undercutting the white people, that's why they wanted to send them back so bad, because they couldn't compete with them, because they were a union. They were united. You know what I'm saying? They were united, and that's why they came and took over the industry. Don't get it twisted. They getting money too. They own them companies too.
Yo, I have never. So for example, this subdivision I'm in, there's 1,000 houses. There's not one company that was, I shouldn't say Mexican, Hispanic owned that got the contract, but it was all Hispanics that were swinging hammers. So the fact that they're able to come in and do it under the table, undocumented, or at a lesser price, that's not a win. I don't want that. I don't want that for us. I want us to be fairly compensated for the job that we do. So if we're going to come in and be an underclass and sneak in the back door and still, because we're in the party, we're happy, that's not restorative justice. I'm actually looking to be a full-fledged citizen and a participant in this country. And that's how we do that.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception, man. I think that's what they want you to think, man. I think that is a misconception. They're building those houses, and they may not be all the builders, but there's a portion of those builders that is Hispanic, and they're building them, and they're building those communities also. And they're employing nothing but other Hispanics to do it.
And they're just fooling us. And
that's the power. Yeah, because you think, when you go to Forsyth County, that county, let's look up the demographics of that county. That county is Hispanic also. They live up there with them too. And they're not living up there just swinging hammers and cutting their grass. They're owners. They're owners.
That's that whole talented temp discussion. So if some of us make it, we all make it. That's not true, because the hood, like, if you never go back and you don't reach one and teach one, they still down bad. You're like, well, at least a few of the Hispanic made it. They live in Forsyth County. We won.
Tell that to the people all them Hispanics live together. But they all live together, boy.
I'm looking at the demographics of Forsyth County, since you suggested looking that up.
It's
actually 85.4% white, 6.2% Asian. Not surprised by that. And 2.6% black, 0.3% American Indian, 3.8% other races. There aren't so many Hispanic people living in Forsyth County that they even give them a number.
They could
be fooling us.
As white, though.
They're fooling us.
That's what I'm gonna say. Doc, they're fooling us.
That's right, because you can be white Hispanic and black Hispanic. You can. So maybe
So they gave them other. Why do they give them other?
They can be other, or they could be two or more races, or you know what? They could be white, Cubans, or people.
Why would they put other? I don't know. Why that's funny that they put other.
I have an office in Forsyth County, and it's a lot of white people. Don't get confused and think.
Oh, we know that, but that's not the point. We know it's dominated, but I'm telling you, they're up there also, right? You just proved that with your.
Yeah, it's a black folks up there too.
It's some black people up there too. Yeah,
there's more black folks up there according to her number. She just ran.
More Asian folks than there are black folks up there.
Yeah, because they all work in IT and just go down to Alpharetta.
Well, and my experience has been that a great majority of those Asian people are actually Asians from India. So.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's what I was gonna say. I'll say that's probably more Indians than what we know as Asian.
So yeah, man, I think this was a great episode, man. If if anybody got anything to add, I think we kind of hit it home, man. I'm gonna chop this thing up, and maybe we could actually like put this out and actually get a real push on what reparations should look like for us and how we should move in the future, man. Anybody else got anything they want to leave out with?
I do, man. Lastly, man, get your house in order, man. Make sure your yard's clean. Make sure, I know we talked about this at the very beginning, man. Make sure that you're actually budgeting to where if you get some real money, you can actually manage it better. So it's never too early to start preparing for kind of your next windfall. So man, start now. Start having and don't lose hope. So that's the biggest thing that I want folks to kind of take from this is there's hope out there. Just make sure that you start doing the right things and putting the things in place now for whenever something happens, you're actually in a position to take advantage of it.
Anybody else? Joe, you got anything to leave out with?
Yo, I just want them to just go ahead and just cut that check, man, so we can go and at least start running up a couple of these businesses, though, bro. But reparations, I ain't banking on it. I'm keep it real, man. I'm not really putting that in my whole vision board and all that, man. I hope it comes. I want it to come, but I mean, I'm always looking to at least see us work for ours, get ours, earn it, because whenever you just kind of own your action lane, casters can't get in the way of anything that you have coming your way, man. So, yeah.
Pastor Smooth, how you feel, bro?
No, I'm good, man. It was a nice, good episode, man. Very informal. I'm not informational. My bad. I'm sorry, man. I'm sleepy, dog.
You sleepy, man. What's up, Lee? You want to sound us off?
Nah, man, I'm good, man. Everybody hit it all.
And that's another prototype dad. And we out.
Hey, Doc. I need your information.
It's Aisha Dickerson everywhere. AishaDickerson.com, Aisha.Dickerson.
I sent it to you.
Gmail.
Yeah, all right. That's who you sent me?
Put it in Google. It'll come
Here
up.
we go.
Miss Larry.
Google me.
And we out.
You do teenagers?
I do.
Okay. All right, cool. I'll look you up and then I'll be in contact with you.
All right. Take care.
All right, thank you.
All right, y'all.